Oh, you got it bad. You did it. I didn't think you'd see it.
I said you got it.
Thank you.
If you don't, you pass them to William.
Yeah. You're fine. Thank you.
Sure.
You. Got charged, that'd be great. Things like this. That's where it's got those shallow nails in there, it's on the back. You know, mine doesn't leave it out. Deer. But that, we need to make that change in it for now. Right here, we'll do it.
In case you need it.
Good to be close. Yeah, and I'm not saying to change it, I'm just talking about the language you got it here.
I said you live at Council Beach. Council Beach. I may just leave the coat down here.
Oh, is that from me? Oh, now, Bob. I'm hot natured anyway.
Yeah. Already.
What's happened to Councilman Turner? He is frozen. They got all this nice and good. How you doing, sir?
Good, how are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Ready?
Wow, this is just hard.
Good afternoon. City of Shelbyville Mayor and City Council Special Study Session for Charter Review is the subject at hand today. We welcome everyone that's visiting with us today and welcome all the city department officials and city council members. The date is Tuesday, November the 19th, and it's about 12:02, I guess, p.m. And so I would like to call this business meeting to order. And the first thing on our agenda is old business review and discussion of the Shelbyville City Charter changes. We want to ask you to do that, or me, or how do we want to handle that?
Mayor, we could probably do it jointly. You all been provided a handout, a summary of last meeting, and had the three key issues.
Hang on just one moment. All right, I didn't get an updated agenda. We do have, after the call to order, we have a citizen comments section that we want to ask if anyone has signed up for citizen comments. Have they?
I don't have anybody signed up. Does anybody want to make citizen comments? I don't see anybody.
Okay, we didn't want to leave that out. Thank you, Ginger, for pointing that to my attention. It wasn't on my agenda. Okay, all right. Scott, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go about it.
We of course have Patrick Marshall with Municipal Technical Advisory Service, and anything you all agree upon, he can take it back to him and have the legal services review it and then prepare a resolution, hopefully in a timely manner, so we can get to the different things.
Okay. Looks like that the first thing that I have on I guess the discussion items is Article 2, Section 3, that we've looked at previously. If everybody has the charter in front of them, and Patrick, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. 2, Section 3, if everyone wants to turn to that point, if you've got one. Okay, it's talking about voter qualifications. All persons who are entitled to vote for the members of the General Assembly under the general election laws of the state of Tennessee who reside within the corporation. Am I at the right place? I think so. Shall be entitled to vote in said election, provided all persons residing outside the corporation limits having owned a taxable freehold within the corporation for a period of 6 months next preceding the date of said election. Being otherwise qualified, shall also be entitled to vote at said election, provided further that such person residing outside the corporation limits and owning a taxable freehold within the corporation for a period of 6 months next preceding the date of said election shall also have a controlling interest of 50% or more of the taxable freehold within the corporation. All right, I think we had discussed that previously. Do we have a council member that wants to discuss anything about that? I think what our recommendation was, was to take out of the portion that says provided all persons residing outside the corporation limits having owned a taxable freehold within the corporation for a period of 6 months preceding the date of said election and otherwise qualified shall be entitled to vote at said election. MTS states that this language could simply be deleted if that is the pleasure of the mayor and city council to prohibit non-residents from voting in the municipal elections. Any discussion on that at that point?
Mayor, let me just say that is specifically allowed by TCA section 22107. So
Okay.
state law provides that you all can prohibit or allow it. Up to you.
Okay. Any thoughts on that from anyone?
Is that the one you brought up? Is that the one you brought up?
Yeah. My recommendation to go with the deleting that section. Most of those are my friends, I understand. So, but
Well, my recommendation on that, I'll go ahead and speak if I said somebody else. My recommendation is we don't need to have taxation without representation. If these people own this property in the city of Shelbyville, Tennessee, whether they live here or not, I think that they should have the right to vote. I think that's a constitutional right.
I totally agree with that. Whether they live outside the city limits, they own property here, we accept their property taxes. And now, as far as multiple voting every 2 years, when that council, possibly changes, now that's one thing. But I'm sticking on living outside the city limits, but you've got property here in Shelbyville.
And you're paying taxes.
You're
That's right.
paying taxes, and our office certainly takes those tax dollars, so.
I'm fine with that. What you were talking about, wasn't it, is, like, there's a lot of people on property in different wards, multiple properties in different wards. They don't listen, they can over everything in the country, make them declare, wasn't that what you're talking about?
yeah, that's
I
a
want
problem
you
too.
Yeah, declare which ward you want to choose and you vote that election. That's the only one. That's what you're talking about?
That's part of the caveats of it too.
Yeah.
Having property owners who are not citizens of Shelbyville voting in elections determining the future of Shelbyville, just because they're a property owner, throws back to the old kind of Jim Crow law, it dilutes the citizens of Shelbyville vote. Just because you own property here does not give you a right to vote in the election. I own property all over these places too. I don't get to go vote in those communities simply because I own property there. I don't reside there. And to me, it just dilutes the citizens voting. And a lot of these are my friends that certainly, we know a lot of them that live within the county that own property inside the city.
That's right.
And they do it. In elections, every 2 years, they're gonna switch which property they get to vote on. So 1 year they get to vote for me, and 2 years later, they go over and vote for Bobby Turbo. They get 2 votes. I'm only getting 1 because I don't happen, and I can't, Because if I own property in your ward, I can't, as a citizen of Shelbyville, go register in your ward, but somebody outside the city can.
You're right about that.
So to me, it's not fair. I think if it was really tested, even though it's allowed by Tennessee Constitution, I think if it was tested, it would be unconstitutional. Because it just throws back to the old days where minorities, which generally live inside the city, you're diluting their vote. The 70 or 80 or 100 people, whoever it affects, to me, it's just not fair to the local citizens of Shelbyville. Have somebody from the outside being able to come in and influence their election, especially if an election is won by a couple of votes, you'll really see a huge quality, I guess.
I agree with Maryland, if we tax them, they'll be able to vote.
Yeah, that's what I,
But not every 2
Yes,
years.
we tax them, and
Not every 2 years.
they should be able to vote.
They can declare which ward their property is in, that's where I'm gonna vote.
They got properties in different ones. So
Well, that's what I'm saying.
They need to decide which one they
Yeah,
want to do.
well, they want to vote out, I get to vote every turn of election. Because they don't vote.
Okay, so what happens if a person moves from one ward to another?
They'll have to change.
And they just voted, for instance, in this last election, but between now and 2 years.
2 years.
Well, they can
they're
vote.
moving. Do they not get to vote?
That's true.
If you move your residence,
That's what's
you do.
true, that's
That's true.
true, they do not
They
get
move
to
their
vote.
residence.
To move the
Or if you
residents.
move your business, you still get.
They do not get to vote, or they do?
If you move your residence, you do get to vote.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I think the issue that, Councilman Feldhouse brought up is people who own multiple properties in multiple wards and have no idea how often this happens. But every 2 years, they do go declare, they have to declare at the election commission when they register what ward they're gonna vote in, but they change it every 2 years. Not because they changed a property or bought a new property, but they just go and do that. And you're correct, anyone who actually lives in the city can't do that. You may own your house and own a business in 2 separate wards, you can only vote at your house.
That property owner could say, okay, city, I own property in all of these wards, every one of them, but the ward that I get to vote in is the only ward I'm gonna pay the taxes in. Wow, really? I mean,
How do they get
you're
to do that?
restricting, because you're restricting their voting rights on all properties, so,
And property taxes do not follow where they vote.
well,
It follows where the property is.
Right. As long as
If
people
I
get
own
to vote
property in
once,
California, I still.
it's not
Property taxes
unconstitutional.
in California.
And I think that's the protection we need to do, make sure that they are able to vote, whether they live within the city limits or not.
yes.
If they pay taxes and own property, they should be able to vote. Now, whether they should be able to vote multiple times or not, that's the question at hand, I think, right now.
Do you know?
I don't know how in the world you could prohibit that, who keeps up with all of that, and,
Patrick.
go ahead. Patrick?
Yeah, you're only allowed to register to vote in one location.
Right.
So if you, for instance, if I owned a property in all the different wards in the city, when I registered to vote, I'd have to determine which ward I wanted to vote.
That's right.
Those other, even though I own property in those other areas. For instance, right now I own property in Wisconsin, but I reside in Tennessee. I can only vote in Tennessee.
What they're saying, however, is that people are switching every 2 years. So they're getting to vote for at least 2 council members instead of 1 council member. What they're asking for is how could you, and do you know, a way to stop the switching every 2 years?
Yeah, the property owners and they register. And if 2 years from now, I want to register in a different district. And I'm a property owner, I should do that.
Okay, so there's no way to prevent this, what is essentially double voting.
No, because all you need to show when you register, I believe, is your is a gas and electric bill and some proof that, you own the property. So if you wanted to switch every 2 years, I don't believe it would be an issue. I don't see a lot of people doing that and haven't in my career, but there's a possibility.
Okay. Anybody else have any discussion on that? Do we need to vote on that, Scott?
Technically, hopefully we can,
Make recommendation?
yes, agree or disagree with the recommendation.
My recommendation is to leave it just like it
Second?
is.
You wanna leave
Stay
it?
on property that should
You
be.
wanna leave it, you wanna leave it?
Yeah.
You wanna leave it?
Leave it.
I'd eliminate it.
3.
Okay. All right, we're gonna leave that like it is, correct? Okay. Okay, article, looks like, 17.
Yes, sir.
And section 3B. Okay.
It's on his printout.
Okay, I'm gonna read that, if that's all right with everybody. All right, the charter says at this time, no person shall be eligible to hold office as a citizen member on the board until such person shall have been a resident and bona fide freeholder or householder in Bedford County, ratepayer of the utility system for at least 2 years, next recite of including the time of his or her appointment, and shall be at least 30 years of age, and a citizen of the United States. No person who holds any kind of office, executive, judicial, or legislative under the United States, the state of Tennessee, Bedford County Utility Board, or any employee of the city of Shelbyville, Tennessee, shall be eligible to serve as a citizen member of the board during such term of office or employment, provided this shall not apply to notary publics or to the state National Guard. If any member of the board shall cease to possess any of the qualifications for the office, a vacancy shall thereupon immediately be declared. An appointment to complete an unexpired term of office shall be made in the same manner as the original appointment. Now, that's what the charter says. I think we had kind of looked at it, and this is what it states. No person shall be eligible to hold office as a citizen member on the board until such person shall have been a resident, bona fide freeholder or householder in Bedford County, ratepayer of the utility system for at least 2 years, preceding the time of his or her appointment, and shall be at least 30 years of age and a citizen of the United States. MTS states that this language could simply be revised to mandate that all board members must be a resident of the city of Shelbyville, if that is the pleasure of the mayor and city council, to prohibit non-residents from serving on the Shelbyville Power, Water, and Sewer System as board members. Okay, discussion, comments?
If I will, Mayor, whether or not you change the residence is one thing. The main thing we all need to do is define ratepayer. Remember, we all came up with a particular policy. I don't know if that was given to you, Patrick, about the policy that we passed by resolution 18 months or so ago, that specifically says when we talk about, meaning the city council, not the power system, talks about ratepayer, that included an individual's spouse, that it may just be one person at the residence, it could be one person's name on the account, it also means the spouse, as well as business owners. The account could be in the name of their business. If we can prove that that's an individual that owns that business, they could run. So we do need to clarify that in this section.
Okay.
Did we come up with a definition, our definition of a ratepayer?
It's in that
A year or so
resolution.
ago, when we did that.
That's what I was saying. It's in the resolution, so we need to probably make
Okay.
certain that he has that.
I think I need-
That needs to be in the charter.
Okay.
I figured the definition of the ratepayer would be from the Shelbyville Power, Water and Sewer. That's the definition, which their definition is. Is that not correct? I mean,
But I think they
Why
were
would I-
looking for an individual's name instead of,
why would the city charter supersede, override what the definition of the ratepayer is?
Shovel Power, Water and Sewer's definition of the ratepayer is the name of the person that the power is in. It doesn't include anybody else. So if the wife goes up there and turns the power on, it's in her name, then they don't consider the husband to be the ratepayer or vice versa. I've talked to Jason Reese, and that's their interpretation.
So in my house, if the rate, if it's in my name, and I kind of think it is, then my wife could not be on the power board,
And you all clarified that 18 months
even though
ago.
she pays the bill every month.
if we clarified that though.
By resolution, and that's
Right.
that's how you want to, that's how you all decided, and you get to decide who is eligible to be on their board. So that's how, a long time ago, when they put ratepayer in, I don't think that council thought about the limiting definition that the power system would have as ratepayer.
Why did the power system do that?
It's
I'm
always been a
Contract, it's probably contractual, whoever signs that contract, that's who's on it, like, I can't change my charter bill, I can't change all those things without going through a bunch of hoops.
Yeah.
It's all Chris's name, that's just kind of standard business fare, that it's whoever's the name it's in.
And they said that their system only allows for one name in that block.
Yeah.
So like if you and your husband both went up there and you both signed a contract, there'd be a one person that would be over the other, because their system only allows for one person.
So from talking to Shovel Power, Water and Sewer, if it was in Henry's name, let's say, and Henry passed away, then wouldn't it automatically go to it would not?
You got that situation sitting on either side of you.
At Duck,
I have to go to
at my previous employment, we had that same thing where you could almost do a joint account. I think we changed it to later, but like grandpa left you the farm, then the power, we had all kinds of decisions like that. So I think clarification of this, especially in a married couple, that it should be kind of a joint ownership in that. Now, whether Shovel Power agrees with that or not, I don't know.
It doesn't affect Shelbyville Power, they can define ratepayer for their contracts, that's all been, this doesn't affect that at all. All this does is, we define ratepayer for the purposes of determining who can sit on the board, and that's it, that's all it does.
And the only reason I said that was because we don't need confusion between what Shelbyville Power, Water and Sewer want and what the city of Shelbyville want. We should be able to agree. We've had that discussion, I think, with their attorney, and they don't agree with us, or they do agree with us.
Oh, no, that was his just definition of ratepayer, using ratepayer. You all can define who gets on the board however you want, you don't have to use the term ratepayer. How you define it, you could be the ratepayer spouse, and if the ratepayer is a business, then the owner of the ratepayer. It's just how you define it.
And the only reason I say that is because what I had gotten from the attorney and from the board of Shelbyville Power, Water and Sewer is when we made that change, whether the person that was appointed at that time had the legal right to sign documents for. I'm just trying to get this out in the open so we can clarify it. Whether that person could legally sign documents as a board member. Have we ever clarified that, Scott? Do you know if we've ever clarified that, whether that's legal for that person to sign or not to sign from their attorney position?
We did by resolution, but we're gonna print out a copy of the resolution, so
Okay.
everybody today.
Okay. Okay.
The concern, and this is why I brought this up, when you all pass that resolution, was, we know we need to change our charter. And then there won't be any concern by the power company. Whatever's in your charter is how they need to be appointed. You all made clear for the council, who that was 18 months ago, I keep saying, or 2 years ago, but that was not the intent when that changed the charter was, and that you wanted to be allowed for spouses and for folks that own businesses. So that's why you passed that resolution, and there was an understanding at that time that you would be changing your charter to reflect that.
Are we still planning to check with them to see if they've been doing it for 2 years though?
This is, this
It
has,
says they're a ratepayer for 2 years. How do we know if they've been paying their
Oh.
bills for?
who checks.
But
Lisa
when she
checked.
asks them, they have to look it up to see how many years. So
That's
they're
correct.
still in the formula.
The
they're just-
2-year formula?
Yes.
Yes.
So
I mean, unless y'all wanna get rid of it, that's up to y'all.
I'm just saying.
An applicant would just have to clarify that it's in a business name and I am, on their application.
I own that, yeah.
It needs to be clarified so that they know what to look.
Because we did make that change, that resolution change, isn't that the reason why the power board attorney refused to, do a search party and induct that particular individual?
Yes, because it wasn't in the charter.
So anything that they refuse, if it's going to that magnitude to where that person was not sworn in by their attorney, there obviously is an issue with the power board not agreeing with what we have done.
Because it wasn't in the charter. That's the only thing. Put it in the charter,
Then we can put it in the charter.
they won't disagree. That was his reasoning, because it's not in the charter. Has to be set by the charter, which is why I bring back up to you, if you want to continue to follow your resolution, you need to get it in the charter.
So what you're saying as our attorney, that if we put this in the charter, then the attorney for Shelby Fire, Water and Sewer would agree that that board member is legally in that position and
If
can
you-
sign a document.
If you follow your charter,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, because that's the argument I've had or heard from that group.
That's
Not
correct.
had, but heard from that group, that they would not swear that person in because, and,
Just because the resolution is not to the authority level as what's in your charter.
I just want to make sure that we're on the same page with Shelby Fire, Water and Sewer.
Not that we're disagreeing from their definition of ratepayer and our definition of ratepayer.
Right.
It had nothing to do with that?
Yes, because ratepayer is the only thing that was in your charter. And he was defining ratepayer as how they define ratepayer.
Okay.
You all were defining it larger, but you only had that by resolution. You didn't have it in your charter. That's why I'm saying, when you fully flesh out, by definition, who you wish to be on the board, they'll follow that, because you've got it in your charter, not just a resolution. Does that make sense?
Not really, but,
Okay.
but that's okay.
No, tell me what it is.
Just,
that-
just, I
follow
mean,
it.
I almost want to say just leave that alone. And when it comes to, what was it about, does this have something, some language in it about not living inside the city limits and serving?
It does.
Yeah,
It does.
makes sense.
And so
Yeah, that's a separate issue.
that's a separate issue.
Yeah, it's a separate issue.
But ratepayer, Mayor, what you're trying to do is only define who can sit on the power board.
Right.
It's not going to mess with how they define a ratepayer for purposes of their signing their contracts and the rights. That, it has nothing to do with that. We're not trying to change the definition of ratepayer for them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's only for the city. That's why you could say ratepayer as recognized by the Shelbyville Power system, the ratepayer spouse. And if a ratepayer is listed as a company, the owner of that company. And that way you haven't even attempted to define ratepayer for them. You've just said the ratepayer, the ratepayer spouse, and anyone who owns a business ratepayer. is eligible to serve on the power board. So that follows what you all said in your resolution.
And all I am saying is I want Shelbyville Power, Water and Sewer and the city of Shelbyville to both agree to who is legally in that position to sign those documents for the Shelbyville Fire. If we appoint that board member, then I want to make sure that Shelbyville Power, Water and Sewer acknowledges that member, that board or the council appointed member as a legal representative for the Shelbyville Power, Water and Sewer.
What they're saying is they're legally appointed according to the charter. That's all that they were looking at. Saying, your charter just says ratepayer, here's how we define ratepayer. We think you've expanded ratepayer too broadly, and you haven't changed your charter to reflect.
Maybe
That's why I brought up, you need to change the charter.
Well, is it that Shelbyville Power did not want that much broadness in the definition of ratepayer from the city?
Oh, I have no idea.
Maybe that is one of the reasons that.
I don't know.
And see, that's the argument I would like to have settled.
Yeah,
I get this from Shelbyville Power, Water and Sewer that this person can't serve or can't
Yeah.
legally sign this document on that. What I'm trying to say is, let's get the city of Shelbyville and the Shelbyville Power, Water and Sewer Board on the same page.
Yes.
So that when we appoint the next board member, we don't have this confusion again.
I
Hey,
think
wants
they're,
to say something. She-
My understanding is that, Shelbyville Power, Water and Sewer, changed their applications to include a spouse or multiple applicants.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if that's just going forward. I wish Jason was here, but, that's my understanding. They've recently changed that.
we certainly could reach out to of course, the authority to decide who sits on the power board lies completely with you. They don't get to vote on it or tell you who you want on the board.
Right, but if we call them and say, hey, has this person been a ratepayer for 2 years? And they say, no, according to our records, he's not a ratepayer now, that's when their definition of ratepayer comes into play. They might give you the wrong answer,
That's right.
you know.
Yeah, and Lisa's had to deal with that for 2 years, so she knows now.
Yeah.
Is that the spouse of the individual, and I think you've actually changed the application for the power board to reflect that. Are you listed as the ratepayer? Are you the spouse of the ratepayer? Is the business the ratepayer, and you're going underneath that business address? Is that correct, Lisa?
Yeah.
Yeah. To help us clarify those issues.
Well, they don't seat these members. The council body does, of course. And it's simple to me to make sure that it's almost like them signing off on any applicants that qualify, don't qualify, etc. when this comes up. And that puts their definition in perspective. That's the way they see it. You know, no matter what is here, we really need to abide by their definition.
You could abide by the definition of ratepayer and still change who gets to sit on the board by saying ratepayer, ratepayer spouse, or if the ratepayer is business, then the person that owns the business. That's very simple. And that doesn't even touch the definition, that doesn't change the definition of a ratepayer for them at all, them or you. The ratepayer definition is the same. You've just broadened who can sit on the board by including the ratepayer spouse or the whoever owns the ratepayer.
But if their definition is not that broad, it's different.
No, the definition of ratepayer would still be the same. It would be the name on the account. That's the same thing. You're just broadening who can actually sit on the board. Because you have the complete control to say who sits on the board.
If you eliminate the word ratepayer completely, you just say purchaser of water, sewer, or electricity from the Shelbyville Power, Water, and Sewer System, and eliminate the word ratepayer, their argument goes away. They're the ones that have a limited view of ratepayer.
We used to not have ratepayers. That used to not even, ratepayers only been in the charter for how long?
Few years.
6 or 7 years? Yeah, that used to not even be in the charter.
Yeah, we had it where anybody can serve.
Anybody could serve on the board,
We at least wanted somebody who was purchasing their services.
yes.
I agree. But I just don't think that we should broaden that language outside what they've done. What they've said is what they've said. They've said.
Meaning, so between a married couple, only the one person whose name's on the account.
Yeah.
Could serve.
So in most households in Shelbyville, there's a husband and a wife, either one of those is a ratepayer, their definition. You're happy with that, the other person cannot serve on board.
That's
you
what that
just said.
means.
Well, if that's set by the Shelbyville Power system,
I don't think the tail needs to wag the dog. We're the dog. We're the ones that own the thing. We're the ones that need to set the definition of who's gonna sit on that board. I don't think the power system needs to tell us what their definition is, and that's it, no matter what. And here we go, every year, when we have a ratepayer come up, wanna be on the board, well, he can't be on, it's in his wife's name, sorry, you can't sit on the board.
but it opens up that can where it says, oh, the council they have broadened their definition. So, Joe, X, Y, and Z can sit there.
We own the system, we ought to be able to set the rules. They don't.
And I don't have any problem with us setting the rules. That I think is correct, Mr. Fellhouse. I think that's correct. But what I'm saying is, I want Shelbyville Power, Water, and Sewer Board and their attorney to agree to whoever we appoint that their signature on documents will be legal. I have not gotten that approval from anybody.
Oh.
I have asked their attorney, I have asked their general manager. How do we get the city of Shelbyville and Shelbyville Fire, Water, and Sewer to agree that that person we appoint, they approve and they will swear in?
They've never had that problem until this was changed.
That's what I thought.
That's it.
Why can't we work that out?
Well, I think you would if you, again, you all set this policy because there was a majority of this board who wanted to put a particular person on the power board. And so we advised you and said, if that's how you wish to interpret ratepayer, then make yourself a policy. This would help you. So you did the policy, and we advised at that time, you will need to change your charter. Because they're just hollering because it wasn't in the charter. And I understand that completely. It was a very strict interpretation, and they were saying how we define ratepayer is this, versus you have defined ratepayer as this. And to keep that from being an issue of interpretation, put it in your charter. You put it in your charter, I don't think they'll have a problem. But you would like to have the conversation, I think, with them prior to making the vote on the change is what I hear.
That's
That's what
exactly-
you want. And I think
I want them
wise.
to agree with us when we appoint whichever, whether I'm mayor or somebody else is, and when that appointment is made, those people accept that person and their signature on legal documents, because they have to borrow money for millions of dollars. We want to make sure it's all legal.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I think that the problem initiated when the council that was sitting at the time changed the charter before this change.
Mhm.
And they did it because they wanted ratepayer in there. Prior to that, that word was not in there.
Right.
And they-
Right.
It had the word taxpayer,
Right.
and the reason that the council at that time decided to put ratepayer in there was because the power company had absolved or taken over Flat Creek.
Right.
And they felt like it was fair that if Flat Creek was paying bills, they ought to be allowed to have a seat on the council. And or on the board, and at that time, it wasn't about a particular person, it was just about the fact that they were now this many more ratepayers out in Flat Creek, and they should not be excluded. So that's why the council at that time chose, they weren't city taxpayers, but they were ratepayers. So that's why the council at that time chose that word. It didn't have anything to do with Shelbyville Power. That was just the word they chose to be able to include the Flat Creek customers.
And the discussion at the time was very much, we just want people that have a buy-in that actually use city water. And so there was not, I think when they used the word ratepayer, they weren't expecting Shelbyville Power to define it solely as whose name was on the account.
Correct. That-
Yeah, and I understand all of that. I just want to make sure that whatever we pass is acceptable to them also. As the authority, city of Shelbyville, like Henry says, owning the Shelbyville Power, Water and Sewer or overseeing the Shelbyville Power, Water and Sewer, I will make sure that they agree legally with whatever change we make. So the next time an appointment's made, we don't have all of this discussion.
So still, why didn't the attorney for the power board sign off on the individual when Madam Recorder just explained Black Creek comes into this?
Because he did a very
paying
strict,
customers?
a strict interpretation.
Right.
The charter is where the city has the power to appoint the board members. And so he just simply went by his interpretation of the charter. And like I said, this is a resolution that's not the same level as a charter change. So he was being conservative in his opinion, and I understand exactly why he was conservative in his opinion, saying if somebody ever wanted to truly challenge that, they could allege that, how do you define ratepayer? And that's what it would be. It would be, because ratepayer is not defined in the charter. It is not defined. It's not defined as how they define it. It's not defined how you define it. So the fight would be over in a legal battle if somebody challenged it in court. What does ratepayer mean? He did what, and I can understand that, being very conservative, he just pointed out to them, hey, how we define ratepayer is just the person who's on the account. And if that won in court, then we might have a problem. I understand that.
I don't want problems.
Well, all we
I
have
want
to
it
do,
to be,
That's why
I
you
want it to be
define-
settled.
That's
Yeah.
why you need to define
Ginger
it.
has a solution, just add the wording to our charter and we're done.
If you still want to follow this, yes.
Done.
That's why you just need to define ratepayer. It's over the definition of ratepayer, which is not defined in your charter.
Yeah, because I was on the power board just all the time. We took Black Creek, David's Mansion. You gotta let those people have an opportunity to serve on that board if they choose.
Which is why they took out city taxpayer and put ratepayer.
Yeah.
With the full intention, I mean, I don't think anybody even thought about it or brought it up. They'll just assume that a couple living in their home, it could be either one, it could be, and weren't thinking that for the purposes of their contracts and how they do their software system, they are much more strict in how they would determine ratepayer, which is completely understandable. But this here is a different thing than saying who's got contractual power over the accounts. So how you ever define it, we just need to define ratepayer. If we're gonna leave ratepayer in, it needs to be defined in your charter.
Our resolution that we passed does a pretty good job spelling it out, because we split it, showing that there is a difference, a residential account and a business account.
Yeah.
And the term ratepayer shall include individuals named on any type of service account or record of the power system, spouses of individuals named on residential or business account records of the power system, or any adult member of a residential household who resides at the residential service address. And then any owner, officer, or board member of a corporation, partnership, limited liability company, or other business organization for which a business service account is created. So we defined it in our resolution, we just need to put it in the
Right,
charter,
it just
something very similar to that.
needs to
Not
go in
that
the
exact
charter,
same
just
thing.
define it, yes.
And I don't know if this will mean anything, but this was passed in 23 when we made the appointment in May of 23 to the thing.
Right.
And then and that was when Mr. McBride refused to swear in the person at that time.
Right.
So we did this and we put this down. We sent a copy to Mr. McBride and the power company. When I sent the applicants in May of 23, I sent the names in and the power board, I said, I need to check if these people are ratepayers for the last 2 years, or at least for 2 years. And the power board just checked their database for those names. And those names didn't come up. because that name is not in there because that's not how they have them listed. When I did that in May of this year, and I sent that list to Jason Reese at the Power Board and said, check these, it took him longer. And when he came back, there were some that were under different names and he, like under a company or under a spouse, and he clarified that in what he sent back to me. I think the one particular person ended up dropping out of the thing, so it didn't come to light at a meeting. But it was that same circumstance. But this time, when I sent it to the Power Board, because they had this resolution, they didn't, say anything about it or give any back about it. They just checked it a different way. Does that make any sense? Am I explaining? So to me, I think once the Power Board had this, they didn't have a problem anymore with ratepayer. I don't want to speak for them, but I felt that way by the fact that the process went much smoother in May of '24 than it did in May of '23.
Back to Mayor, I think the direction you keep saying, and of course, council members can add on whether they want to do that.
Right.
You would like staff to have this conversation with the power system is what it sounds like.
And make sure we're in agreement.
Right.
Both parties are in agreement. If we got that, then I'm fine.
Oh, yeah.
Find you, put the wording in, Mr. Pelt, got it read out loud.
If they can help us make it even better, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
For their opinion.
Yeah. Good discussion. Okay, Article 3, Section 4. Under Section 4A.
That one ain't even legal, no one should.
Okay, just 4A and B is what we have on that. Let me read them to you right quick. Our charter at this time says A, this eligibility to serve as a councilman or councilwoman. Any qualified voter of the city who is at least 21 years old, has been a resident of the city for at least 2 years, and resided full-time within the ward from which he is running for 12 months prior to the election, shall be eligible for election to the office of councilman or councilwoman from, and shall represent the ward in which he or she resides. Each councilman, councilwoman must reside full-time in the ward from which elected. All right, B section of that says no person who holds any kind of office, executive, judicial, or legislative under the United States, the state of Tennessee, Bedford County, or employee of the city of Shelbyville shall be eligible for the office of councilman. Now, Article 3, Section 4, I guess the adjustment we're wanting to make was provides that the eligibility to serve as a councilman or councilwoman, the MTAS legal opinion is they do not see any legal authority to prohibit a county employee from being eligible for running for a municipal office.
Mayor, if I may.
Yeah.
The last time we met and talked about this, Councilman Christie asked me to take a closer look at that, because that had been my opinion too. I didn't think there was any authority. There's a particular state statute, 751-1501, that specifically states that local government employees, their rights to participate in the political process are protected from anything that a county, city, or metropolitan government charter says. So, cities, counties, the 2 metropolitan, 3 metropolitan governments, whatever we have,
Right.
in their charters, they can't prohibit those people from running from local office or participating in local office, or that's a constitutional issue. So it means that either the county can't stop their county employees, city can't stop their city employees from running from any other office, except for that specific statute is the default statute that says city and metro employees
Right.
cannot run for office for their legislative body. That's that statute. But you can't stop anyone else. It's different. County, we'll talk about county. County can't run for the
Right.
county commission.
That's right,
That's a different thing.
that's right.
And there are other laws that relate to county employees, whether they're school system, all different types of laws about that. So as I told Mr. Christie, he said, there's no need to be in here then. I'm afraid that statute would, even if you passed it, if you put it in your charter, I mean, the language specifically says, notwithstanding anything in any city charter, you're not interfering with a local employee's rights to run for office. The only thing the state allows is cities and Nashville and Trousdale County as metro, they can prohibit their own employees from being on the legislative body. Just for their city. They can't stop them, like, you all can't stop any of your city employees from running for county office or state office or federal, all that kind of thing. That's obvious, but that is the statute 751-1501. Now, I haven't spoken to MTS's legal counsel, but I assume that's where, because they said, I don't see any authority. And I didn't, when I was researching that statute, I didn't see anything in case law that defined that statute even further or gave an exception to it. So.
Okay, all right. That's all I have as far as written,
I thought there was one more. Was there four? It's only three on here.
yeah, I was thinking there was more to it. I was looking for it, did not see it. Did we talk about, was it city manager? Was that the one that we were talking about? Was that the other fourth one or what? Y'all remember, anybody?
There was, I think that was a possibility of an addition.
Yeah, was that?
Was there four?
Watch it, he's close enough to hit me.
Patrick, did you have anything down as a fourth potential?
I just had three.
Okay, then I'm
Okay.
wrong. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I was wrong.
We just talk.
Yeah,
I
the
think
fourth
there
one
was
was a
discussion, but-
discussion, and they kind of did a show of hands. It was for the council to have authority in the hiring
Be
process.
involved in hiring.
Yeah.
And there was a show of hands and there wasn't enough to move that forward.
Any other parts of the charter that we need to look at right quick? I know that we've submitted to Patrick and his group all these and we discussed them today. Is there something else that we need to discuss while we're here today about anything?
I brought up before, so I'm unclear too. I had on my list of question marks on, because we recently ran for election, we had to sign with the election commission the part in here under 3.6, which is what the section we just talked about under Article 3, ineligibility for office,
Right.
about having a judgment of unpaid for any monies received by them in any official capacity that due to the United States, the state, or its local subdivision, those who are defaulters to the treasury. That wording was ambiguous, and I just want to see if we cleaned it up. If there should be further, basically, you're looking for somebody with a background check, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, we require all our employees to have background checks before we hire them. Why would we not do that for our elected officials? I'm not saying they can't run.
3.6.
I mean,
And
you can have a penalty, I guess, and still run.
and that's under
But
eligibility
it ought to be,
council.
some public knowledge or something out there that we hold ourselves to the same standards that we're holding our employees to.
So that's under eligibility to serve as a councilman, in that section 3, I guess, for any elected office.
3-6.
Qualifications of mayor and everyone else. We need to open that up. On salary, I did see where it's got numbers for salary, for the mayor and for city councilmen, and I just asked Scott right before the meeting if we needed to change those numbers, but I don't know there's any need to. the mayor at this time,
I was gonna say, the last time we changed that was 5 years ago,
yeah,
is
Yeah,
that correct?
Yeah.
5 or 6 years ago?
and we
Yeah.
put in there that they may be set by ordinance, provided that no ordinance increases the salary of the mayor becomes effective until the commencement of the term of the mayor, and the same for the council.
Right.
right,
So if they decide to redo it, they can set it by ordinance, but
Right.
it would not affect the council that sets it unless you're reelected, then it would.
and I'm not saying to change the numbers, what we make right now, but what I'm saying is the numbers within the charter are incorrect as of right now. Didn't know if it needed to be updated. Does it need to be,
That
Patrick?
was part of the.
Does it need to be updated? I mean, it says 10,200 for the mayor, and I think 18,000 is what I made.
Yeah, it can be updated via ordinance.
Okay, and then the 7,800, I think the
That-
council members make 12,000.
There was an amendment to the
So
charter.
if they
There's
wanted
been
to
an
update
amendment to the
that,
charter.
Yeah, just right now, not to
There's
change
been
it.
a municipal code
Go
amendment.
outside, hold up for me.
All right, do we need to even look, the city of Shelbyville is growing and has become a larger city now. Do we even need to look, somebody mentioned this to me the other day, do we need to go, and change any kind of direction on the leadership of the city because of I know Nashville has a mayor, and that's the head of the office. Some of the other ones do too, and somebody had mentioned to me the other day, is Shelbyville moving that direction at any point in the future? Also, metro government. Is that something we need to look at? Not discuss today. I'm just throwing some ideas out there. Do we need to look at that in the future? Shelbyville and Bedford County begins to grow. Nashville, Tennessee, Davidson County is a metro, Moore County is a metro. There's another one. I don't know.
Trousdale.
There's three of them. So just, you might want to think about that for the future to see, and Patrick, I guess y'all will see all of those cities and things like that. Is there a population number that you get to that people start looking at? Instead of having a city manager, you have an elected mayor that is the head of the office and those kind of things?
That would just be, it'd be a referendum or a change to the chart.
But there's not a population number where there's a cutoff or anything?
No, as a matter of fact, Lynchburg is,
It's
Yeah, I
the
know that, yeah,
smallest,
I know that,
It's one of the largest and two of the smallest.
yeah,
That do metro.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
so
because
it's
they're
up,
listed in metro.
it's
That's
up to
It's very
the,
different.
it's up to the elected speaking the voice of the people.
It's more like county. than
Yeah, we
city.
get all kinds of questions like that. I just thought I would ask that question while we had an authority here.
Yeah.
Any other things that we need to discuss today?
Along that line, I don't mind giving my opinion on
Okay.
The trend has been, no matter what size your city has been, in the past where they had elected mayors that were also the administrator,
Right,
they've actually gone to a city manager form of government
right.
to get it in more professional hands rather than it turning over every time you
Have
elect
election.
somebody reinventing the wheel. Is that correct? Did y'all change that?
I've got to see people.
That's correct, it's
Yeah.
practice that is correct nationally.
So,
Not just in Tennessee, that's more elected bodies are going to a professional manager than in the past.
and there is a mechanism in place if you want to look at a metro government or study that.
Right.
The state of Tennessee already has a system in place where each government establishes a committee and representatives and we talk about it.
Right.
And just to bring you up to speed, the joint committee that I think William and I were on with the county up until about 2-3 years ago, that was gonna be our next step. It was the one that took and it evolved into what, the 231 board?
Yeah, yeah.
Partnership, and we discussed several things in that joint services. We had each the committee made a recommendation to each of the governments. The city passed it, the county did not, saying that we would then research shared services. We weren't trying to use the word metro government, but there was plenty of involvement just to keep the discussion going because we had excellent people on both sides that were willing to discuss the issue. Just to lay it out there, what services are the county providing citizens of Shelbyville and citizens outside Shelbyville, and same for Shelbyville. What citizens are we duplicating, or what can we do to help each other on those things, 911 boards, all that kind of thing is kind of on the table. And so, to me, we still have a vehicle in place with our committee that we have established, if we want to pursue that, to open up that, to develop a dialogue again with the county to discuss those things. If it involves in metro type style government, then
Yeah, that was just some things that had been brought up, to me over the last couple of years that I've been serving, or almost 2 years serving. And, also the situation of duplication of services you're talking about. The citizens in the county pay $2.32 property tax. The citizens in the city of Shelbyville pay county taxes and city taxes, $3.80. Our $1.48, we had dropped a little bit, but if you combine the county and the city taxes together, that's $3.80 that every one of our property owners in the city of Shelbyville pays, for property taxes. So, maybe that's some of the questions that people are throwing out there, and the combined services, like I said, 2 different fire departments, 2 different police departments, all kinds of different things that we have. But that was just a thought to throw out there. Shelbyville is growing. How long will it be before we're 40,000? Won't be long.
You nearly
Won't be long. Be quicker than what we're thinking about. All right, that's all I have for today. If nobody else has anything to say, I will, ask for announcements, any announcements that we need to make.
Mayor, let's get clarification, because we left here last time and thought we had these 3 things. Patrick replied back and we sent it out, and then nothing happened. So, for clarification purposes, and I'm just referring to the memo, since
Yes, sir.
that's the big 3.
Okay?
We're gonna leave Article 2, Section 3 as is,
Right,
no change.
right.
Article 17, Section 3B, legal staff and staff, what's going to get with Shelbyville Powers, legal and staff.
Yes.
And then have y'all something by the time MTS gives us the resolution.
Right.
Article 3, Section 3A and B, where do we go from there?
Can't do anything.
So,
Can't do anything. State law says you can't.
We can't do anything.
so
like
that happens
That's okay, off the table.
And then we're not gonna do anything on 3-6 and 3-7, because the ordinance takes care of 3-6.
Yeah, okay, that's no problem.
Are we all clear on that?
What was 36? Was that
That was just the numbers on
Was
it.
that
background check.
his background check, so are we not? Tell me, I
That's,
didn't get
that's
it.
the reason I'm asking.
One way or the
We
other.
need
This is going
clarification.
to-
3.6 background checks. Is that what we're looking at?
Yes.
Okay, do we need to do anything with that or leave it like it is?
That's my opinion, if we require it of employees, we ought to require it of ourselves.
Let's see. What does it say?
It's not to keep somebody from running, it's just to make the record public. Background check.
Okay,
And you make background checks?
does that have that in the, when you run for office, don't you have to fill out?
Are you saying? Right now, we don't have to do that. But Henry, the section you read out, those against whom there's a judgment unpaid for any monies received by them in any official capacity.
Yeah,
Are you saying you want that to come out?
it's unclear.
You know what that means or how?
If I'm sitting here and I have DUIs, I have assault, or whatever on my background check, I owe money to all of these different places and got judgments against me all over town. And does that cover any of that? It only says if I did it against the state of Tennessee, or a political division thereof. Doesn't mean that I can go out here and do whatever I want and pretend on Facebook that I'm the greatest person in the world, And portray myself as this, that, and the other, and then turn around and have all this in my background that nobody even knows about, unless they pull my background check.
Yeah, I was thinking.
I don't know if we might need to take a look at that, Patrick, to see how common this is in others and how we define. I mean, it says a judgment, so that means a court of law has given an actual, somebody sued them and they've been adjudicated to owe that amount of money to the United States, the state, or a political subdivision, mainly the government. It doesn't mean general. But there is a semicolon in there.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how that's supposed to, if that's a typo, how that's supposed to be defined. And those who are divulgers to the treasury at the time of the election. What treasury?
That's all I knew, it's very confusing to me.
Yeah,
Asking for clarification or,
I think you have to answer those questions when you run for office. Am I not correct? Do y'all remember filling out when you had to run for office? You had to answer those questions.
You gotta worry about it, the more we got a pack, and they're gonna, if they don't like you, they gonna find out if you run got to be. Okay, hell, you talking about a pack, and ain't a better human being walking the face.
All right, let's just get a thing. I say leave it alone. What do you say?
I think I'm just afraid of what the repercussions would be, or how much can you actually divulge once you find it out? But yeah, I think it'd be great to know, but I think Henry has a valid point, but I just don't know how much can you make public without exposing yourself?
Is that a yes or a no?
I don't know.
I guess it means that who's responsible for determining whether
That's-
someone has this? Because they're technically ineligible to run for office, that's what it says.
That's what-
Ineligible for
That's
office.
right. That's
If
right.
they have that, I don't know.
Marilyn, what do you say? Leave it be?
I think really doesn't matter, but leave it alone, I guess. I mean,
Yeah. Bobby? Leave it alone?
Yeah.
Okay, I say leave it alone. Henry says, let's check it. William said, let's check it. So we got 3 and 2. Is that right?
Yeah, 2 and 2, you break it, that's right.
Huh?
Yeah.
Do we need to vote on it or? we okay? Okay, we're good. Okay. All right. All right, what else have we got?
I would like to know, though.
So 3-6, you wanted to check.
Well, I think we need to check what some of that means.
All right, I will.
And for me, I'd like to know if the election office actually checks that. Not us, I don't think it should
They
be
would
the
be one,
city.
yeah, I don't believe it should be the city doing
It
that. It
shouldn't
would
be.
be the election commission.
That's what I was thinking. I thought that they had those questions when you did that. Okay. All right, good comments. Anybody else have anything?
well, I know that I think you said that the vote was not strong enough for anything regarding our city manager.
Uh-huh.
Section C60. And it seems when we speak on this, it's almost like it does not have to be documented in the charter, but it's agreed upon amongst the body. Well, for it to guarantee that the council receives what they need to receive, et cetera, it almost looks like it needs to be on paper. As far as reports, time off, the proper protocol in taking time off, how many personal days, sick days, vacation days, all of that, of course, is in a contract, I'm assuming. But I don't get memos, I don't know if the rest of the council get memos on certain things. I don't mind if there's some type of a disciplinary measure that the council can put in place to offset or try to steer away from either you have the city manager or you don't have a city manager. It could be something in the middle as far as a disciplinary suspension or something like that. That's just my thought.
Okay.
But this is a really broad, and this whole section is really broad to me. But that's just me. Thank you.
Anything else?
May I speak, Mayor?
You may.
Okay, since I am the city manager tonight, I would just like clarification. You mentioned time off and sick days and vacation days. And again, as your second city manager right now, I would just like to ask, do any of you all think I've been using my time?
Who are they saying that? Fine.
Okay, I just want clarification because I like my job and I want to keep it. And I don't want my boss to be mad at me.
I pursue those days are documented in some.
City manager does work for the city council and the mayor.
Yes.
So we always have the opportunity to go to the city manager when he has an issue.
Absolutely.
And I do. If I have an issue, I go.
And I think most of us do. Yeah, I think most of us.
And I think we have a good work.
We're the elected officials of the city of Shelbyville, and that's our right to do that.
And just on this line, I'll go ahead and announce it publicly. I will be off next week for my wife's surgery and then Thanksgiving holiday. So I just don't want y'all to think I'm not working.
Appreciate the job you're doing. Okay. Anyone else have anything to say? Let's adjourn this thing.